Now, tomorrow is going to be World Mental Health Awareness Day, being the 10th of October. A Wits University study showing higher rates of depression and anxiety among South Africans compared to other nations in the world. The rates in South Africa are said to stand at 25%, in contrast to 6.9%, for example, in the United States and 10% in Australia. Let's speak about this challenge of mental health in our country now with Dr Chido Siame from eNCA Health. Doc, good afternoon. Welcome to today.
Thank you so much,
Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for coming in. I mean, just an overriding question first. I mean, how big is the challenge of mental health well-being in South Africa today?
Well, I mean, like you mentioned, it is a big problem, and it's, I think, bigger now that we're having more conversations and realizing what is going on. We're actually realizing the magnitude of the problem. Like you said, mental health care issues such as anxiety and depression, 25% prevalence in South Africa. In Brazil, it's 7.9%. Like you mentioned, the States, it's 6.9%. Australia, it's 10%. So we're really battling with something big compared to other counterparts in the world.
What's driving this high prevalence of these mental health issues in our country?
I think specific to South Africa, there are a number of issues, right? There's socio-economic issues. If we look at our economic sort of situation as a country, there's high unemployment. We live in one of the most unequal societies in the world, and there's economic instability. We talk of people who are one paycheck away from becoming completely destitute or homeless, and that all adds to the stress and anxiety that people deal with every day. On top of that, we look at high levels of violence that happen. It's crime that adds to anxiety and depression amongst people because of the trauma of experiencing crime or even being exposed to it. We look at GBV that causes so much stress in the home that adds to such things like that. And even the legacy of racism, of apartheid, the migrant labor system, Dan, people split countries. Families rather were split up, father here, mother here, children there. There wasn't that support system that we're used to in our context as an African people. So I think those are some of the factors that are driving this pandemic.
And sometimes we forget that, and we undermine the impact of our violent past.
Absolutely.
As a country across the board. Now, the challenges that we're facing, as you've explained, are socio-economic and are societal, but we still have stigma.
Yes.
Around it. I mean, what are you saying about that? People said, they'll say I'm mad if I say I've got problems. If you are a man and you're not coping with depression, you're not strong enough, you need to be, kind of stigma. You pick up a lot of that still?
Absolutely, a lot of stigma. Like you mentioned, based on gender, men must be strong. Men don't cry, men don't complain. You continue doing what you need to do. Women as well, I mean, we see it. You must be imbogodo. No matter what happens, you keep pushing. And I think there are also other issues, sort of lack of information. We don't know much about mental health issues as a people. It's not something that's freely spoken about, and things that we don't understand, we sort of fear. And I think even if you look at cultural issues, people will look at mental health conditions and think, it's spiritual or supernatural, whereas it can really just be treated biologically with medication and with therapy.
Yeah, now to treat it, you need to have access. What are the access challenges that South Africans are facing today in terms of getting help for mental health problems?
Big challenges around access. If you look at the number of mental health professionals that we have in the country, not nearly enough for what we need. Local clinics, it's difficult to access mental health services, to find a psychologist or a counselor. And then you look at access to the actual facilities. People live far from places where they can access mental health, and not only thinking rural and urban, but even here in the urban areas where we are. If you look around, almost every shopping center has a GP or a dentist, but you won't find a psychologist, you won't find a counselor. So that's another issue that we have. And then affordability, of course. I mean,
affordability is a big thing.
It's a big thing.
But I mean, you with eNCA Health, you've got an app, and how is it helping? Because I think mental health should be regarded as a primary health.
Absolutely, and it is. It should, and it is. With eNCA Health, we're able to increase access because the cost of our service, it's 185 Rand to speak to a counselor or a psychologist. You can access this service from the comfort of your smartphone. So whether you're at home or you're at work or you're on the road, so increasing access there.
Yeah. Now, what's the impact? I mean, from what you're seeing, you've explained the socioeconomic pressures we're all feeling that are contributing to mental health challenges.
Yeah.
What's the economic impact from what you're picking up of not addressing mental health?
It's massive. Undiagnosed or unaddressed, rather, mental health issues are costing the country 161 billion Rand annually. which is a lot. I mean, and you'll wonder sort of where is that coming from? There's decreased productivity in the workspace. People are not able to concentrate, not able to finish tasks, and sometimes people even leave the workforce because of mental health issues, and there's strain on them, there's strain on the people who have to take care of them. So it's a whole knock-on effect of unaddressed mental health issues.
Anxiety, depression.
Yes.
And low self-esteem, and all these can be problems. What are classic symptoms of a mental health challenge? But let's say depression, for example. How does a family member pick up that Dan is depressed?
Okay, so you will see a depressed mood. So that's not just feeling sad once or twice, it's a persistent sadness that a person can't shake. There can be irritability as well. Sometimes a person is not sad, they're just irritable. There's changes in sleep, sleeping too little or sleeping too much, changes in appetite, eating too little or eating too much, and then feelings of worthlessness and helplessness, feelings of guilt sometimes. And I think sort of towards when it becomes a little bit more advanced or more severe, thoughts of death and thoughts of suicide.
Yeah, we've seen high suicide rates
yes.
in terms of reports and stuff like that. Have you noticed through your eNCA Health app and just interacting in the space that demographically even younger people get depressed? Because I'm just thinking that there were certain illnesses or diseases in the olden days
yes.
which were regarded as adult diseases.
Yes.
There's
yes.
nothing like that anymore. No. When it comes to mental health, is it across all ages?
It's across all ages, from childhood sometimes. I mean, we've seen stories of children who are committing suicide, right, in schools, and teenagers, young adults, young professionals who are trying to navigate life all the way across the spectrum to middle age and into old age as well.
Yeah, that prevalence of 25% compared to others
yes.
is very big. What do you think would need to happen for it to come down? What really do you think we could do as a country to make it come down? How do we help each other?
I think the first thing is to have open conversations like this one. Get information out there to raise awareness in a culturally sensitive way, you know, so that people understand it and they can accept that this is something that is like having high blood pressure or having diabetes, something that can be treated, something that if it's treated, it improves your quality of life. So I think the first step really is just having those conversations.
Yeah, and then to access, do you go to a GP? Do you go to a doctor? Because it's psychologists basically yes. who treat you. But where would the starting point be for somebody who's thinking, okay, I need help, I need to go and knock on some medical door? Which is the first door?
That's a great question. So you can start at your GP. You can start at your local clinic as well, and you can get referred on. You can download eNCA Health and get that on your phone, and that can be a first step for you as well.
And eNCA is K-E-N-A?
K-E-N-A Health. On any app store, download it for free, no subscription. A year and a half.
And the experience? The experience of the app. I mean, digital is the way to go, but it's
absolutely.
Our future, so our present. Young people mostly use those kind of platforms compared to the older generations. But what has been the experience of eNCA Health?
I mean, we're doing great work. We've seen tens of thousands of consults through our doors. A lot of them are mental health care consults. And there are a lot of young people, but we also have older people as well, because our app is so easy to use. It's user-friendly, and you get to talk to a real person on the other side, a registered licensed professional.
Gender-wise? You see more men than men, women or more women than men?
Good question. A lot of women, a lot more women that we're seeing.
So we guys are still a little bit hesitant to engage in the space.
Absolutely. But we're hoping that as people become more aware of eNCA Health and aware of the confidentiality and the privacy with which they can access mental health services, we'll see more of men.
I guess you can download it from any app store nowadays. You can find eNCA Health in any app store.
Yes.
And what's the cost of a consult?
A consult is 185 Rand.
Each time?
Each time, yes.
Yeah.
So there's no subscription, no download fees, just that consultation fee when you need it.
Thank you very much for your time and information.
You're welcome.
That's Dr. Chido Siame from eNCA Health, just telling us about mental health and well-being and why it's important. Remember, tomorrow, October the 10th, is being marked as World Health Awareness Day. But this month of October, it's World Mental Health Well-Being Month as well.